Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video from Aman Talks NRL SuperCoach. Here in this video, I'm going to be taking a quick look at round 12, my updated thoughts, final thoughts on my trades, what I'm looking at doing with my team, and a bit more of a deep dive as well into how I'm thinking about the future weeks during this whole bye period. We're obviously hitting the first major bye round. It's a very important week and just a very, very crucial period of time for SuperCoach when it comes to planning your trades, your trade-ins, and making sure that you're covered in each of those rounds adequately. And that really starts now as well. And even looking at whoever you're trading in, how does that impact your numbers in the mini bye weeks in 13, 16, 19, the major bye rounds in 15 and 18. And I really do encourage, if you can afford to, spend the 30 minutes, an hour, just looking at your team, looking at how your numbers look for each of those rounds, and that will really dictate who you're thinking of trading in this week. That's already had a change on my potential trade plans for this week as well. Obviously, the video I came out with on Tuesday was pre-TLT. There wasn't actually that much different, I think, from that, thankfully. So one of the main ones was Dylan Lucas being named to start on the edge. There is some re-injury risk with his shoulder, but it was pleasing to see that he was named to start on the edge. So I think it's a bit tough to recommend him. I mean, he's still a buy, but maybe output might be a little bit less with his shoulder injury, but he was pretty highly owned in the top kind of ranked coaches, so hopefully most of you already own. I think if you don't own already, and if you've got like a Karaz, and if you've already got maybe one of a Herbie or an Iro, you've got like a Fletcher Sharp already, and if you don't love any of those other pods in the centers, like a Gagai, Hopewadi, Mulatalo, and Alan Motti is someone I didn't discuss on that video, but he's looking like he'll have the goal kicking this week with Cleary out. If you're not really interested in any of those pods, I think Lucas is still fine because he is probably still going to be your run home season keeper, and he's got the dual, which is really handy as well. So what I'll do in this video though is I'll quickly talk about some of my updated thoughts for this week and some of the trade-in options and how I'm currently thinking about my trades going into this period of time. So if you follow me on socials, you'd know that I put out that even if I max trade this week in 3 trades, I'm only going to get out 10 players this round. I'm not expecting a good week. Unfortunately, injuries did hurt a lot with having Nafahu White and Rob Toya out. And I probably honestly didn't plan maybe as good as I could have to make sure that I was set up well for round 12. And I really tried to not prioritize too much of the major bye rounds, but I think I've left myself a little bit short for this week, but you can't always plan for injuries. So I'm just going to have to cop a hit this week. What that has meant though is I'm really looking ahead to those other major weeks, just making sure that if possible, I'm well set up as best as I can, pre any injuries and whatnot, but just predicting what might happen in those weeks. And I really want to make sure that my trade-ins do cover me for those rounds because I've been on a bit of a slippery slope in terms of ranks. I really want to make sure that I can get back up to, say, the top 1,000. And that's really useful during this bye period because, you can get an edge on players, or other coaches, I should say, by having more players. And I want to be in that position as well. So what am I thinking about doing for this week? So one of the biggest topics of the round was Teddy versus Trbojevic. On Tuesday, I was hell-bent on, you've got to get Tedesco. He's a must-have. Thinking about it a little bit more, he's not going to be as much of the must-have as probably I thought. So quickly just jumping back to that slide on the fullbacks that I had earlier in the round. So if you look at Teddy's draw, it's not amazing for the next few weeks because you've got the Sharks this week, who are pretty much full strength. And then you've got the Raiders, which is obviously a good opposition. And then you have the bye in round 14. Round 15 onwards is probably where he does become a little bit more essential. But I can understand what people are thinking, which is, let's go against Teddy for the next couple of weeks. He's got a very expensive price tag at 919k. You've got Tom Trbojevic, and Manly's draw probably through this bye period is right up there in terms of some of the best. Matchups wise, you've got Parramatta this week without Moses and Lomax. You've got the Broncos coming, backing up from Origin. Knights in 14 is good. And then if he doesn't play Origin 15 Turbo, he's got the Titans. And if he is, for example, playing Origin, then you can always just switch to Teddy if he's not in round 15. So I do understand the argument to go Turbo against Teddy, particularly those who maybe, if you already own Tedesco, and if you're sitting with a Ponga, I would be 100%, I think, going Ponga to Turbo. In my own situation where I don't own Tedesco, that's when I have to make the decision on one of those two. I'm personally still leaning towards Tedesco if I can. I set up my trades last week to be able to afford KP to Tedesco, and I'm happy to take on Turbo and see how he goes. But as I'll get to with my other trades, I'm looking to hedge against Turbo with other trade-ins of mine. And I still think that Teddy, I expect Teddy to go maybe 70-70 or 70-80 in the next 2 rounds, which is probably not going to be value for what he's priced at. But I just want to lock in a season keeper. There is a risk as well that, let's say round 15, if Edwards gets an injury or doesn't play well, New South Wales change things up, Teddy could all of a sudden be picked for Origin round 15, and then all of a sudden you've picked him up for 2 weeks, had a bye in round 14, and then you miss him in round 15. That would be the not great outcome, but I guess you'd be burning extra trades, but what you could just do at that point is go Teddy down to anyone else you want who plays 15. That could be Turbo if he looks better. You could pivot to Drinkwater if you don't already own. So you've got get out clauses, but I'm willing to bet that I think, I'm a New South Wales fan, I hope we win, and I hope that Edwards just stays there and we get Teddy for SuperCoach. So, and to me, Teddy just feels like a bit of a safety blanket, and especially in a week where I'm going to be short of players, I'm trying to get those guys who are going to really, really hurt me. At the moment, Hines and Teddy have got the highest captaincy percentages on them in the top 5-10% of coaches. If I'm probably not going to get Hines this week either, I feel like I can't not have both of those guys. So for me, Teddy is still coming in. It's very team dependent. I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the stream, but you really do need to just hone in on your own team to decide who are the best trade-ins for yourself. Because it's not too easy to just be like, yeah, black, white, this is the player I prefer. Because you could say, well, I prefer this player, but actually he's going to be worse for your team because he's, you're already heavily loaded up on a Manly who missed round 16, and you're adding more Manly players. Well, maybe it's not the best thing for your team. So you just need to factor all of that stuff into this round and for the entire Origin period. So as it currently stands, I will be still going Ponga to Tedesco. So that's trade number 1 that I will be making this round. Second trade will be Kiraz. So Kiraz is out for 4 to 6 weeks. And so I think he'll be a sell for me, because if we go back to the draw for the Bulldogs, just give me a second. So yeah, what you've got here is you've got Dolphins this week, which he misses, and he'll miss 13 anyway. He'll miss 14, he'll miss 15 most likely. And then they have the bye in 16. I don't expect Kiraz to get back until round 17. It's Penrith away in that matchup as well. So for me, it's just too long, too expensive, too many other good options at centre or even via duels to be sitting on the bench. So Kiraz will be sold for me. Now, I spoke a lot about Iro and Farnworth in Tuesday's video, and I was always leaning towards Iro. They've both got very, very similar, well, they've both got the exact same draw setup where they both miss and play the same rounds. So not really much to pick between the two of them. And I also don't own either Iro or Farnworth as it currently stands. I am looking at either one of the two potentially as a trade-in. But as I spoke about before, a lot of people are buying Turbo, and I really like the look of Lehigh Hopewadi. And one of the things for me is I want to make sure I'm well covered for 13. Iro and Farnworth both miss 13, whereas Hopewadi plays 13. And so I really like him from that side of things. He does miss 16 and 19, but I'll get to my team in a bit. I think I'm going to be okay covered for 16 and 19. By round 19, you could also just sell Hopewadi, but it's really trying to target these really good matchups that they've got in the major buy rounds. And again, I'm short this week. I need to try to chase someone who's got a ceiling. Iro and Farnworth definitely have a ceiling. But if I look at least the next 2 weeks in a vacuum, even if they both go 100, but then they miss the next week, if I can expect Hopewadi to go maybe 60, 70, and then 50, points-wise, he's outscored them. Of course, round 16 is a different matter when both Iro and Farnworth do play. But I do think that if I don't get Iro or Farnworth this week, I definitely will be getting one of those two come round 15. That is the most likely avenue I will probably take. And yeah, I really like Hopewadi. I like his draw. His base was good. I put that tweet out where his base was higher than Farnworth and Iro last week. That's not base power. Base power is a different stat. And yes, Farnworth had higher base power than Hopewadi. Base is purely tackled and runs. And the last couple of weeks, he's had really, really good base. He hasn't cracked a ton yet this season, but he was close last week. Scored 1 try already. And the thing is, if Turbo gets picked for Origin or if he goes down with injury, hope it doesn't happen. But if it does, Hopewadi is going to slot in at fullback. So I've got a good insurance policy there. And by not bringing in Turbo, and I only have Garrick from Manly as it stands, I feel okay getting another one and not being too hit hard for round 16-19. I think Hopewadi is going to be the pod I will go for this week. I'm very, very keen on him. So again, that will be a second trade of mine. We'll be going Kiraz to Hopewadi. So I'll just quickly find him. Where is he? Here. I wanted to do this live as well, just so you guys kind of, because this is literally what I did. I had about 20 minutes, 30 minutes earlier, and I thought, let me really think this through. And yeah, this is kind of the process I went. So I wanted to kind of show you guys how I go about it. And yeah, so those will be 2 trades. So I will be making a third trade as well this week. I just need to get the numbers in. And so when it came to the third trade out option, Rob Toya, he's actually in the top 10 most traded out, but he's got a negative break even. I at least want Toya, I think, for that extra cash. Round 14 when he's on the bye, especially if Queensland win, and it looks like he might keep his spot. because of course if he misses Origin for the next couple of games, he will play round 15 and round 18, so it'll be a valuable number. So happy to hold on to him for now. If it looks like he'll get picked again though, I really like the option of pivoting from in round 14 from him to someone like a Ewan Aiken. So Ewan Aiken is 530k as it currently stands. He's been starting edge the last 2 weeks. He's had base over 60, and he covers 15, and I believe they cover round 18 as well, the Rabbitohs. They do miss 19, but they do cover 15 and 18. And so Toya, I don't think I'll be selling. I'm not going to be selling Dewey or Billy Smith as it currently stands. Not selling any of my fullbacks. King Tonga I just bought in last week. Munster I'm holding for the time being because I really want him round 13 versus the Titans if he backs up. Hughes I'll be keeping for that same reason. Cleary. So I probably won't be selling Cleary this week for Nico Hines. The reason is if I just look at the next 2 weeks independent of each other, yes, Hines over Cleary for sure this week, but then next week Hines is on the bye. And I think Cleary will back up because I think Penrith just need to win games. And then the next 2 rounds, Cleary has got the Parramatta Eels and then the West Tigers. In that same time, I'm just going to quickly look at Hines, but I believe they draw for the next couple of weeks. This week is good. Roosters who are under strength. So this week it could hurt not having Hines. But next week he misses out. Then round 14 is the Warriors, who've been pretty good. Round 15 though, yes, it's the Dragons at home. I think I'll want Hines then. And that coincides with the same time that Cleary also will miss round 15, misses round 16. Round 17 is going to be the Bulldogs, misses round 18, could miss round 19. Definitely Cleary out in 15. But it also gives me the option of, even if Hines, there's something wrong with Hines, because I've got King Tonga, I can also sub in a 5'8 instead for selling Cleary. I could get instead a Jaden Campbell at 5'8 if I wanted to. So I thought about that as well, and that's why at the moment I think I'm going to leave Cleary in there just as a bit of an edge hopefully next week to have both Cleary and Hughes. A lot of people might not do that. And if Cleary's out next week anyway, because if he doesn't back up, then I obviously can't trade for Hines, but I'll just sit on him for a week and then maybe I sell him in 14 or 15 instead, or maybe another option presents himself. Hubner, Nafahu White I'm keeping for the time being. He should be back due round 15. So I don't want to really sell him early just in case I end up wanting to keep him as a valuable number. Not making a trade at hooker. I've spoken about that a lot. So that naturally leads to Dylan Egan. He's out for the rest of the season, so I think he'll be a natural person to trade out. Now, before in terms of who I would want for Egan, because originally it was Hosking, let me show you what I'm thinking in terms of numbers. So let me just confirm these other 2 trades of Ponga out for Teddy, Karaz for Hopewadi. I'm pretty set on those 2. So this is a great feature that SuperCoach has as well if you've got SuperCoach Gold. If not, you can use one of my buy planning spreadsheets or whatnot to try look at your numbers in each of the rounds. So yeah, round 12 looks grim, as I've already spoken about, so I probably won't go much into there. With my Egan trade-in, what I'm looking for ideally is someone who best covers me for these future rounds. If I look at round 13, so that's next week's mini buy round, as it currently stands, I don't own any Dolphins, nor Bulldogs, nor Sharks players. So I'm very, I think, fine for next round. Even if players don't back up like a Payne Haas, we'll talk about Payne Haas as well. He could actually be a potential sell this week, even next week. I've got bigger fires this week, but next week if he doesn't back up, I can see myself selling Payne Haas just because up until about round 20, he'll be missing a lot of games. And I've got the duels to maybe get in like an Aaron Clark or maybe someone else, maybe like a Keon Kolomatangi potentially if I want him next week. So round 13 looks pretty good. So what this meant for me was that I think I can go and pick up someone like a Kale Iro. I can pick up a Herbie Farnworth this week. I can do that via duels. I can go Lucas up to second row. And that's completely fine. I'm only missing 1 player next week. I should be able to cover that. So I probably think, getting Iro or Farnworth is fine for next round. If we look at round 15, so round 15 is another major buy round. That's the next one. I'm actually looking a bit short as well as it currently stands. I'm assuming Connor Watson, this is enough, Tui Simpkins, and then Tino, they're not going to be options. Obviously, Egan will be out because he's injured. King Tonga, look, him and Hubner will play, but they're not fantastic options. Again, in the centres, I'll have all 4 of my gun centres. I'll have Billy Smith and I'll have Rob Toya. Pleasingly, I'll get Drinkwater as well as Tedesco. So in terms of total numbers as it currently stands for 15, I'm on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 12 if you include Rob Toya. If I exclude him, it'll be 11. So again, a little bit short for this week as it currently stands. And the teams that play round 15, you've got the Sharks. So again, that leads me to think, okay, I can probably trade in a Sharks player because I think I will cover them next week and they cover round 15. which is useful, and they've got the Dragons that week. I think I'll probably be going Cleary to Hines in that week, so that'll get me up to 12. And then if my trade-in for this week plays around 15, that gets me to 13. So I'm probably already a little bit better set up for 15 as it currently stands. So yeah, that's currently leaning me to think maybe I can get in someone from the Sharkies. I would like an Aaron Clark. They don't play 15 or 18 though. Quickly looking at round 16. So if I look at round 16, which is the other mini bye week, the only players I'll miss will be my Manly players in Garrick and Hopewadi, King Tonga and Egan, but the guy I trade in for Egan could play 16. The good thing with the Sharky players that if I do trade them in, they cover round 16. The Sharks also cover round 19. So it's only really 13. Apart from that, they've got good bye coverage playing, I think they play 15, 16 and 19. They're missing round 18. So again, the guy I want to trade in, ideally if they've got round 16 coverage is good because I am missing a few players. But again, this week is also going to be the tough week where this is the game played in Perth for Origin. So you might be missing players in the backup for Origin. So like a Cam Munster, for example, I could see myself not having a 5'8" that week. Someone like a Payne Haas, I don't expect him to back up if I still have him at that point. Who else have I got here? Cleary I probably would have sold that week anyway. So realistically, it probably only is Munster and Payne Haas. So that might be not that bad to manage. So I think round 16, I'm probably going to be okay. This is another reason why I was okay to trade in Hopewadi, because I think round 16, I should be fine to cover that round. If I go ahead to round 18, now this round, I think this is probably the major buy round I'm the best set up for as it currently stands. So I'll have Sanders Smith and Tarpany and Terrell May. So that's 3, Horsburgh 4, Naff White if I have him 5, Katoa 6, Hubner 7, Egan's replacement 8, Hughes 9, King Tonga 10, Garrick 11, Hopewadi 12, Dewey 13, Billy Smith 14, Pappy 15, Drinkwater 16, Teddy 17, if I've got my maths correct. But put it this way, I don't need to worry so much about round 18 as it stands. I think that week I should be fine in terms of cover. So round 19, this will be one of the more difficult weeks to manage. So my Manly players will be out, Garrick, Hopewadi. You're also going to miss Rabbitohs. So you're going to miss someone like a Lockie Hubner and Ewan Aitken, Kolomatangi. Most importantly, you're probably going to miss your Raiders players. So Horsburgh and Tarpany for me. And this is probably the game after the third Origin. As I've said before, this is typically a week where you might have a lot of Origin players rest because they want to get them fresh, ready for the run home. And you can see here as well, Melbourne play the Saturday game, the first one. So someone like a Munster could easily rest that game. If you look at a Cleary, look, he plays on the Sunday, but again, after an Origin campaign, maybe he doesn't back up that round. You might just find that week's a little bit more difficult to cover. And this is what's leaning me away from Hosking, because I spoke a lot about Hosking as a trade-in on Tuesday. If I've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players out, plus potentially those other Origin players are missing out, I think it's going to be leaving me in a bit of an awkward position in round 19 if I went for a Hosking who misses round 19. So what I'm looking at, in short, to summarize all of that, for my trade-in for this week, the weeks that I probably need them to cover the most for the Egan replacement anyway is round 19 and round 15. Those are probably my 2 critical weeks. And the Sharks players play both of those. So someone like an Iro fits perfectly because I'll have him as cover for both of those weeks. The one decision I'm kind of grappling with, and the reason I'm talking about Iro is because I think I do prefer Iro to Farnworth. Reasoning for that you can refer to on the Tuesday video. The one thing I'm just grappling with, because I spoke about it a lot on Tuesday as well, is the number of attacker stats that these guys have gotten. Is it sustainable for an Iro, for a Farnworth? And I was much more keen on just trying to load up on those front rowers who are much more consistent. So the one thing I'm just trying to decide for myself for this round is, do I go Dylan Egan to Iro, or do I go Dylan Egan to Aaron Clark? I'm really keen on Aaron Clark. I think he still is potentially value. He's dual, so he kind of shores up that. That leaves me with 101k in the bank. If I wanted a Kolomatangi next week, I couldn't afford it in one move from Naff White to him. Instead, what I could do is potentially just, instead of Kolomatangi, because I think he's a potential risk of playing Origin, could maybe get like a Ewan Aitken instead, for maybe like a Rob Toyer, or I just get Iro, because I think the thing with Iro is I'm not getting Hines. I don't have any Sharks players. I know I'm a Roosters fan, but it seems crazy to not have any Sharks players this week and what isn't versing in the understrength Roosters outfit. Iro, yes, the attack stats could dry up, but he's also a gun himself, and maybe I'm just happy to lock him in for the remainder of the season, and he gives me the best cover in 15 and 19. Aaron Clark, he plays 19, but he doesn't play 15. And I can always trade for Aaron Clark next week if I had to, maybe via Payne Haas. So I think at the moment I'm leaning towards getting Iro. So let me just get him in here. Where is he? 1 second. Get Kale Iro. So that leaves me about 88k in the bank. But again, as I said before, gives me good cover for 15, gives me cover for 19. And I think I can cover Iro in 13 because as I went before, it's only going to be Iro missing out for me in round 13. So if I confirm that trade of Egan to Iro, one thing I also do like about it, it puts Lucas up in my second row, which is good for the time being because what it will lead me to do is if I do want to go, say, Rob Toya out in 14 and maybe get like an Ewan Aiken, Rob Toya, I can go straight to Ewan Aiken. That way I've got the second row forward centering duels in either of those two positions and I can just flip them very conveniently. Or it could mean Rob Toya flick Lucas back down to center and then maybe get like a Kolomatangi in that way. That's also potentially an option for me. So I think this is where my head is currently at with trades. Getting an Iro because I just feel stupid not having any Sharks players against my Roosters this round. And Saturday looks better for weather. Farnworth against the Bulldogs today. It's pretty rainy here in Sydney today. So Iro's a bit more of a point of difference as well. So again, not that I'm going pods for pod's sake. I've given my reasons as to why I like Hopewadi. But yeah, it felt silly not having any players from the Sharks. Aaron Clark is definitely a gun. He could just score the same as Iro without any attacking stats. But Iro's matchup this week is very, very appealing. And as I said before, I think for buy coverage, Iro probably just works a little bit better for me. So if I went to show you guys now round 13, next week it would just be Iro. I think that's completely fine to cover. I can just play Dewey next week. He versus the Cowboys, which isn't fantastic, but I think we can cover Iro just fine next round, and we can keep Cleary as a bit of an edge against those who maybe have a Hines, although Hines owners will probably beat me out this week. Round 15, it shores me up as well, because round 15, as I did the count before, I'll probably end up on about 13, maybe 14 if I push it a little bit more. So I think, again, sets me up in a better position. Round 16, Iro plays. So, covering Garrick and Hopewadi, that should be completely fine. I've got Billy Smith and Dewey there as backups in each of those respective rounds, and only missing King Tonga elsewhere. Round 18 is very well set up. Therefore, I'm okay to not have an Iro play that round because, as I went before, round 18 is probably my best in terms of numbers and coverage. So missing Iro that week won't feel that bad. Even a Nico Hines, if I miss, it's not going to feel that bad. I've got Hughes that week as well at halfback. And then round 19, that's probably going to be one of the more tricky weeks, but I've got Iro as cover. Aaron Clark could be an option as well. So that's currently where my head's at in terms of my trade-ins. And yeah, hopefully it wasn't too confusing, but hopefully it also helped in terms of your own team, how to think about planning for future rounds and what rounds you need to prioritize as cover. In terms of where my head's at for captaincy and final decisions, I'll quickly just flick to the players tab. And if you've got SuperCoach Gold, you can do this great resource. Go to Coach's Choice. I like looking at the top 5%. You can do 10% as well. But this just gives you a gauge as to who the higher ranked coaches are captaining and owning. If you look at the most popular VC for this round, it's currently Ruben Garrick at 20% and Farnworth at 18% and then Fletcher Sharp at 12%. I'm probably sticking with Garrick as my VC. I think it's a really good matchup there against the Parramatta Eels and not getting Turbo. I've kind of got both wings covered. I've got Garrick right centre. I've got Lehigh Hopewadi left wing. So hopefully if Turbo is going to either of those two places, hopefully one of my two other guys will benefit. So I think the VC is definitely going to be staying on Garrick. In terms of captaincy, if I had Hines, yes, he probably would have my captaincy armband. He's currently 32% captained, so it doesn't feel great not having Hines this week, but I'm hoping that having Iro, and with the matchups analysis I went through on Tuesday as well, I think the edge of the Sharks left is better suited this round, so I'm hoping Hines just keeps it quiet. I'll allow Hines to get 80 points. I'll walk away with 80 just fine. If he goes and scores 120, then I'm probably in the mud, but I'm already in the mud this week anyway, so it is what it is. Teddy's actually next at 29.5%. So I think what I'll do is I'll see how the Manly game goes. I just want to quickly see when that, I can't remember when that game is. I believe it's before the Roosters. And I'll see if I just need to take the loot. I'm not 100% certain yet if I'll go Captain Teddy or if I'll go Tarpany. Tarpany's probably a safe 75 to 80. Teddy's probably safe for a 65 as well. he's probably got a higher ceiling. So I can see definitely the rationale for Tedesco. But yeah, definitely VC or Garrick. Captaincy will be one of Tarpany or Teddy. And they're kind of lower owned as well in terms of Tarpany's only 5% captain as it currently stands. And Tarpany's probably my bit of a point of difference. What this means though for my team, obviously no Hosking, which isn't great, but I think there's suitable other options. Ewan Aiken I think is a really good option if he stays on the edge. His base has been over 60 the last 2 weeks, so he could pretty much match Hosking, and he's got the dual status. Kolomatangi looks an awesome option next round as well. So yeah, those are the potential trade options I think for next week. Kolomatangi is the main one that stands out to me at the moment. But yeah, hopefully you all enjoy that video. Sorry if I couldn't really get to any specific questions or anything like that, but I just wanted to go through this in terms of my final thoughts on my team, trades, and just how I'm looking at the weeks ahead. And yeah, hopefully that whole process that I went through did help you guys out. But yeah, please do leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it. Do please consider subscribing as well if you are new around here. And yeah, let me know guys if you do like seeing these kind of videos. They're obviously not as long as the detailed videos, but I try to keep this a little bit shorter. This one's going on for a little bit longer. But if you do like them, let me know and I'll see if I can continue to do them. I can't always promise it, but I do know people generally like a bit shorter and sharper content. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and good luck for this weekend. Catch you all in the next one.